Oh my gosh. Kartana, Kartana action. Oh, shoot, I'm trolling. I should have just done the move. I was scared they're going to farm me down. But that's probably not worth. No shot. What the heck do they have in the back? Oh man, Kartana double Mud Boy. They met their match. Oh, had to be done. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I don't know if people are going to approve of this strategy, but I had to try for myself because I saw Kartana and Ultra Beast is ranked all the way in number 2 of the meta. And this is actually a pretty hard Pokemon to acquire. You have to trade with low friendship with someone that got a Kartana from a research breakthrough, and I think everyone could only get a max of only one of these if you played the event back in November. So one of my locals did mirror with me, and I got one that is under 1500. The CP is actually pretty bad. It's like 1457, I think. One power up puts it over 1500. So unfortunately, the stat product is pretty bad, but I was very curious to see how it went. The team I decided to run and I thought was pretty solid is Jellicent with Ferrothorn and Kartana in the back. And of course, if you don't have the Kartana, you can replace it with like a Ludicolo with Razor Leaf. But I'll kind of show why the typing of that steel grass typing is much better than water grass. Before we get into the battles, a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you would also like to have early access to my strategies and lineups, or see behind the scenes footage of my battles, feel free to sign up in the Patreon link down below. I will say, I've talked about this a little bit in some of the critique corner videos, Fossil Cup meta is pretty RPS. I think the meta is just a little bit strong, and it's a little bit small, and there's a lot of Pokemon that hard counter each other back and forth, giving you not a lot of neutral play. So I'm going to start off against a Pokemon that beats all three of mine, which is Registeel. However, if you start shielding your Jellicent, you can actually do quite a bit of damage to it, and most importantly, typically speaking, that Ferrothorn in the back is going to be very strong, and my opponent actually does swap over to the Gyarados. So I'm going to just no shield. These crunches are really going to add up. I did leave with the Shadow Ball, so I could definitely still take out the Gyarados as long as I get both of their shields. I'm going to go straight for the Power Whip. Unfortunately, this next crunch is going to take me out before I can get it off. I decided to come in with the Kartana, yeah, because I figured I could fast move down sooner. And you can see how much damage it's doing. I mean, resist a Razor Leaf against a Registeel. And here comes Quagsire, and it wants nothing to do with this Kartana. And, of course, I'm just coming with Jellicent loaded with energy to finish it off. Again, some people might not like the fast and pressure strategy. Not something I typically implement myself, but I just had to see Kartana for myself to see how well it works. And for a pretty RPS meta, I think it's got some play. Now, there's a lot of things that you can still lose when using Kartana, even if you have decent alignment. And most importantly, it's leaving Kartana without a shield. In that last scenario, I didn't have a shield for it, and it was okay. But typically speaking, you need a shield pretty much everything. Of course, Kartana didn't get hit by a charge move, so there's that. Alolan Sandslash, you know, again, a Pokemon that can pretty much beat all three, but you have play, especially once you take it out, because typically speaking, once you take it out, the grass in the back, especially Kartana, is going to be pretty good. So you can see me spending everything I can to take out this Alolan Sandslash. And yeah, here comes the Jellicent as expected, very weak into this, and I'm going to throw the Night Slash for potential boost. It's also enough to take KO. Ends up being a CMP, which is huge. Opponent going for that Shadow Ball. Yes, it's frail, but I think it probably survives the Surf. I'm going to get Hex down, and my opponent is going to get out right there. All right, so this first one's going to be an example of a situation where it's going to be very RPS. So typically, a lot of teams that run Lanturn have an Escavalier in the back, and a lot of Escavalier leads have Lanturn in the back. So typically speaking, if you see a Lanturn in the lead, you're going to be in a tough position overall. However, there's always a chance that the third Pokemon is not a hard counter to Kartana. Sometimes it is, and you can only do so much there. But you have to play for the fact that you might need Kartana. Kartana could do something in the back, so you don't shield anything. And so here it comes, and unfortunately, this is an example of getting completely RPS, completely rock, paper, scissors. You have every poor matchup you can expect. I'm going to straight for the Shadow Ball. Now, this is not completely over if I could potentially call a Surf Bait. My opponent does go straight for the Thunderbolt, so good call on their end, and I am going to lose there with both my shields up. I think maybe if I shield and bait perfectly with Surf, I have a chance. But we're going to show another version of this matchup. Again, Escavalier typically in the back for Lanturn, and that's to be expected. Getting this Thunder off is super important, though, because it puts the Escavalier pretty low. And this opponent actually shields, and I think they shielded because this is... I think it's possibly the second time I faced them, if I'm not mistaken. So they kind of knew my team. But also, this signals to me that they are kind of ABA in nature. So only one thing that's a true grass counter. So because of that, I'm going to start shielding as well. Here comes a Quagsire, and as you can expect, kind of ABA in nature. And we're going to shield and try to grab a shield from this Escavalier, doing a lot of damage. But the Night Slash should get the opponent's final shield. No, they don't shield, actually. Okay. Oh, right, because they spent their shields. Yeah, of course. And you can see just a few Razor Leaf. I think it was like 4 Razor Leaf was a lot of damage. And then we have the energy for the Shadow Ball, putting the Lanturn quite low. And you can see just barely outpacing the Lanturn there on the surf. So, you know, still not an easy matchup, but when you get hard counter and lead and the counter swap, and you can still win it, it typically is going to come down to that final Pokemon, what they have. And luckily, it was something that KARTANA was great into. Alright, Quagsire lead with a Ferrothorn counter swap. There's not much that beats Ferrothorn on this team, so you kind of have to rely on the mirror matchup. However, surprisingly, if you land a Shadow Ball, it's probably your best case scenario because it's going to do more damage than most other moves on this team. So, typically speaking, if you can land a Shadow Ball, go to your own Ferrothorn, not too bad. In this case, I had to swap out anyway, so because I really want the grass on the Quagsire, so I didn't have a chance to land that Shadow Ball. That being said, the Thunder is going to add up, and my opponent actually swapped straight to their own Quagsire, and it looks like I survived long enough to get the Power Whip off, which is absolutely huge. They do shield, and unfortunately that shield not going too far because here comes KARTANA Razor Leafing down. I mean, that piece of paper hits so hard, and then they actually have a Kingdra in the back. I mean, again, going straight for that Night Slash. Because it typically takes out most things, and most people are going to shield every KARTANA move. I'm so far ahead at this point. I'm not really worried about even excuse me, getting hit by a Outrage. 2 shields remaining, and this just shows how strong that KARTANA in the right position can be. Yeah, I mean, that was into Ferrothorn lead, and that's how it looked, right? Still had the shield remaining, and Jelson pretty healthy. What's that, Ferrothorn? No, that's a Quagsire lead. Sorry. This is a Ferrothorn lead. All right. So, again, your best check is your own. This is very awkward if they swap out. A lot of people in this situation, they have, like, double water in the back. And that's usually really good because once you take out this Ferrothorn, you just, like, finish it off with the KARTANA, right? Save shields, and then you're good to go. But it looks like this might be the situation. So a lot of times when you do see this specific matchup, it's not the worst case scenario. You're typically very strong into the back end. So I am going to let this Power Whip go. And it ends up being CMP, which is nice. They throw the Power Whip, which is kind of curious. And they actually come in Gyarados. This is where I kind of make a mistake. I should be coming in KARTANA, right? I might have to spend 1 shield, but that Razor Leaf damage really adds up. And I'm resisting Dragon Breath. Yes, it is resisted. But it still does a decent amount of damage, but KARTANA can usually hang because the Razor Leaf is enough to usually take out the Gyarados before the Dragon Breath is. And you can see I don't get to that move, and look at how fast that KARTANA chews through, right? So if I am expecting correctly, there should be a water in back. Unfortunately, it's a Pelipper, which is one of the better waters into KARTANA. Pelipper, and yeah, just because it does neutral, and the Weather Ball spam is quite a lot. It actually is usually enough to take out. And unfortunately, I just don't have enough health left, so I'm going to just concede right here. I think if I counter swap the Gyarados, I have a lot more play. So one of those losses where it wasn't even that RPS. I think it was just more of a misplay on my end. All right. Escavalier lead, like I said, typically has Lanturn in the back. Well, it usually has at least 1 water in the back at the very most. At the very least, I should say. And then in this situation, I'm just going to double shield. I really want that Jellicent healthy enough to take out the Escavalier, and I need to maintain alignment. So we are going to throw that Shadow Ball, and then here comes the Escavalier. This is not too bad. It's a little awkward. Pelipper left with a ton of energy, but we get the Escavalier back in, which means that I can finish it off with my Jellicent, right? So realign that matchup to my favor. I'm going to throw the Surf right away, not even optimize the timing, because I want to take this out as soon as possible. I know that Pelipper has a Hurricane, so they're probably going to throw it. My only win condition here is to be able to Razor Leaf down before they get to another Hurricane, or Weather Ball will put me kind of low, actually. But you can see the Razor Leaf damage just so much. And like I said, Escavalier lead, Lanturn in the back almost always, and you can see that it is going to finish him off. All right, in this last matchup, it's going to be Shadow Mawile, one of the worst things you can see in the back line, but fantastic in the lead. And this is what I was talking about earlier. If you can throw the Shadow Ball and chip the Ferrothorn, it's actually pretty solid. So I do chip it down, and now this is really nice for me because I can just maintain alignment, right? There's no way they could flip this matchup. Even if they have Flash Cannon, it's still pretty tough. And I'm going to overfarm energy because if the Mawile comes back in, that's not going to be a great time for me. So I want to be able to have something throughout the Mawile. And yeah. Oh, and here it comes. It comes right back in. So they left with energy, but give up switch advantage again. So now I can come in Jellicent. I just want to take this out as soon as possible. You can see I just throw the Surf, not even messing around. And, you know, this is why Kartana's as good as it is, because of typing. Because Ludicolo is just not going to cut it in this mirror matchup. You can see how much better Kartana is right there. As you can see, that was Kartana. Is it worth going through all the trouble trying to find one under 1500, trade for it? I don't know. I just personally had to try it, because how many other times will you ever see a Great League Kartana be number 2 in any meta? I would say the ratings definitely inflated a little bit. It is very hard to use because it's very, very frail. If you have fun with Kartana, let me know down below. If you've been using it, let me know for sure, because they are kind of rare. I did run into 1 or 2 in my own battles, but not many. But anyway, if you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye.